Hello and welcome to Girl Awakening YouTube. I'm Jo Hendy.
And I'm Amanda Parker. Enjoy this episode of Girl Awakening in all of its vulnerable sacredness.
And remember to subscribe and share.
Hey. I nearly caught you. I was burbling.
Good morning, Amanda.
Good morning, Jo.
Happy Podcast Wednesday.
Yes, another Zoom, which is very fun because we get to connect with women all over the planet.
We're spreading our wings.
Yes, and we're going to dive in and introduce our guest today, Cathy Carr. Cathy is the founder of Cathy Carr Coaching and co-director of Place of Chi, along with her husband, and has been working in the health, fitness and wellness space since 1993, holding various roles in different capacities over 4 continents, from gym and trainer management, program director and personal training, mentoring and teaching group fitness, yoga and holistic lifestyle coaching. Cathy currently runs online programs for women in midlife, and her passion and specialty is empowering, educating and supporting women as they navigate their way through the middle years. And we think really it's a massive calling for our guest today. Welcome, Cathy.
Welcome, lovely.
Thank you so much, beautiful ladies. I appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah, it's all our pleasure. Now, we are going to jump straight on in, as we always do, and we love to.
Yes.
So, Cathy, how did your awakening begin?
Right. So when I received that question, I thought, oh my gosh, because I actually sat with it for quite some time, because I thought, which awakening? Because there've been so many. So I guess I'll touch base on the biggest ones that have come to mind. So when I was going in through the holistic lifestyle coaching, my mentor is a shaman. And when he came out to Australia, we facilitated some courses and he stayed with us. And we did a lot of meditation journeys. From that experience, it gave me more of an appreciation, a far more deeper, profound connection of who I am, or not who I was, but who I am beyond the external surface of the skin, the muscles, the bones, right? So from that experience and from the mentor, it taught me a lot about religion. And I grew up in a very religious family. My mother used to teach Sunday school and with, Bible study, and she was brought up in a very religious family as well. My father also. And as a young girl, obviously I was brought to Sunday school, and then throughout, see, I'm starting to tremble now. It's really interesting. So when I was anytime I was sitting in a church, my whole body would start to shake. And this carried on throughout my whole life. And I used to love going to church, particularly at Christmas, because I'm not religious. So I like Christmas carols. So I go to a church, any church, whether it be in South Africa or in Ireland, or, I'd go into the church and I would cry and sob, and my body again would shake and shake. So the biggest awakening and aha moment for me, and it happened again a couple of weeks ago in a workshop about, healing the mother wound with Jane Hardwick Collins, that now the work that I'm doing, I feel like I've come home, because my body, my soul, my spirit was not meant to be in that house of God. So that has been such a huge awakening, because I was so confused and I couldn't get or wrap my head around why my nervous system responded this way. There's a few beliefs that I have now, and I just feel that, the beliefs that my parents carried around religion wasn't my story. or, you know, so that's been my biggest awakening. And through that, my mother passed when I was 40 from Alzheimer's. And she was in a nursing home for 5 years. And I sat with her. I'm so blessed and fortunate that I've been at both parents' bedside at their last breath. When my mother passed, my sisters, I have 2 elder sisters, and my father were there. My sister up from me and my dad left, and my elder sister and I stayed with mum. And I went to lay down the corridor just to have a rest, you know, because it's quite draining if you've ever had that experience, you know, either caring for someone and a parent at their, you know, their deathbed. And my sister had come in and she woke me up, and I sat up and I said, "Mum's gone, isn't she?" And my sister was like, "How do you know? Like, yes, she is." But I felt her move through me.
Oh, wow. Beautiful.
I still have that on my I got all goosebumps. I felt her move. So I guess I felt spirit. I felt a spirit move through me. And that has been another big awakening, because I feel that there's just more to being a human being, where, you know, we're having a human experience in this body, right? So that came really true to mine. And also with the work that I've been doing with Paul Chek, my mentor. So that's been the biggest aha. Same with, you know, with my father when he was passing. I stayed with my sisters. We camped out at his bedside for 4 days, day in, day out. And, you know, I was just doing my own blessings when I was on my own with him. And I guess having that understanding of what happens after, like, you know, we lose our body, but there is something so much more, you know, it's not immortal, you know, what I'm talking about, that energy, that God within us, right? So it was, I guess, more comforting with Dad. I think not comforting, but I just kind of, you know, telling him to go to the light, etc., you know, telling him it was okay. And then after his passing, the messages that I've received is amazing. I've had readings that he's right here. So the biggest awakening for me is the spiritual awakening of who I really am and who we really are, you know, that we're all connected, that, you know, if someone, or if there's a collective that has fear or a bad thought, we only have to think back a few years, the heaviness of the energy. That awakening is just beautiful.
Yeah.
I guess cementing all that together. I had a back injury in 2015, the same time my father had shingles and went into a nursing home. That was kind of the last time he was driving and living on his own. So that at the same time as well, selling our house, going to Ireland. So there's lots of awakenings as well. And turning 50.
Yeah. Yeah. The biggest one of all.
I think a huge turning point, and lots of aha awakenings moments when I turned 50. I'm rambling a bit. Is this okay?
No, perfect.
We're going to come back to have some fun. Yeah, it's beautiful, Cathy.
When I turned 50, because as you mentioned in reading the bio, I've worked with my husband. We created our own company, Place of Chi. I've always I still do, I supported him, but I was kind of always in the wing. So he's a corrective exercise specialist, rehab specialist, athletic performer. Like, he teaches Paul Chek's courses. So he's got quite an incredible mind. So I was kind of, in the wings. And a lot of the time I have been introduced to someone as Donald Carr's wife.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
This is Cathy, Donald Carr's wife. So when I reached 50, it was like, you know,
no more.
The curtains open. I'm stepping through on stage, because I used to be a dancer as well, and I stopped dancing. So it was all of that, you know, it's time for me to step out, and because I'm here to do more than be in the wings.
Yeah, beautiful.
And
Yeah.
from working with women like prenatal, postnatal, I still do that, but you know, my focus now, I guess, because I'm in that, you know, gone through perimenopause, I'm in postmenopause now, and working with the women, so many women, and also seeing the narrative, hearing the narrative of that it's going to be the worst time of your life. It's the, you know, it's the end. But it's midlife.
Yeah. I know Helen Patterson, who we all know very well. She introduced us to no fucks given.
Yes.
And when I think of turning 50, I felt like I slid into that no fucks given mode where I gave up. I started to like even take, you know, the coats of caring what other people think, and you know, really just stepping into my own power, which is exactly what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah.
Yes, I've had that conversation as well with the no fucks given. I love that terminology. And I've had a conversation with a dear friend on that as well, who's just turned 50. And she said she kind of turned that around. She felt that it's kind of like an apathy or an apathetic kind of comment, which there's always two sides to the coin, right? So I agree. Like I see both sides.
Yeah.
So I think we become, or hopefully, because there's many of us that are lost and don't know what we're going to do next, because it's always been about everyone else. But it's really being strong on your boundaries and knowing your core values. And if that other person or thing doesn't align, we have more confidence and power. We're in our power. Well, that's what we want to empower, is the ability to say, no, that's not right for me now. This is, it's like, no, I don't stand for that. These are my not negotiables. I'll love you for where you're at, or etc. So I think there's two sides to the story, but it's a no fucks given, but less care. Yeah, we do care, but we care about the things that really matter.
Yeah, I think the care's still in there. With
it's the intention behind it.
It's the intention behind it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's not giving up the care for anyone or anything, but more just looking after you and empowering you. With that becomes empowering everybody around you as well.
The positive intention and the empowering, as you say, and the fire aspect behind it, like, I have energy to do what's right for me, as opposed to the, no fucks given, fuck off, don't give fucks,
Exactly.
don't care, my world's crumbling, I hate yours.
We still may go through.
Not there.
Those moments, of course.
Yes. Which actually it's perfect, because this is going to lead straight into our next question. So when did you first notice the shift in your thoughts and feelings about the world around you? When you were having these awakenings and discovering things about you and who you were and where you wanted to move into. Were you having any different were you seeing the world differently? Were you having awakenings around the world?
As you were around the world, that's what you mean, isn't it? As you moved around the world.
You talked a little bit before, about a couple of years ago, and like the COVID was a big awakening for a lot of people, because they started to understand that there was a lot of programming and there was a lot of conditions and there was a lot of rules and regulations, and people were waking up. That's kind of what I'm talking about. Were you always aware that there was another agenda out there, or did you become more aware when you started to wake up?
Oh, totally become more aware when we wake up, because then when we become aware, we have woken up, I guess, right? Or it's a dance between the two. Because if we're not aware, we're numb to it, and then we kind of just follow the narrative. Yeah. Unless we don't have the ability to question.
which is kind of what you're talking about with the work that you do, isn't it? Giving women the empowerment to question what works for them or doesn't work for them.
Yes, because what works for one or what one experiences doesn't necessarily or always mean that someone else is going to experience the same. So to come back to that question, where I was more awake of the world around me was definitely doing the work, because I think you need to have a guide or a mentor or a shaman, a spirit guide or whatever that might be, is, I guess, doing the work. When I think about the specific course I did, personal professional success and spiritual success mastery, I had been eating organically. So when you learn about the food, where food comes from, because, you know, when I was working group fitness and personal training and managing, and, you know, I was a sick, fit person.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's lots of them running around.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I was taught and shown where food really comes from and what health really is, the 6 foundations of health: thoughts, hydration, breathing, nutrition, movement, and sleep, the real basics. It wasn't until I was shown what health really is that I had, oh my gosh, such an appreciation for everything. Even eating animals, you know, it's a circle of life. So being shown and taught how to actually bless the food, so, you know, again, it can serve you with the highest life force. I think moving through that program and for the rest of the programs, and then doing, you know, your own work, Tai Chi, meditation, feeling, you know, my mum passing, you have that awakening of there's more to it than what's here. And in my opinion, and, you know, I respect anyone with any religious views. I think, you know, I strongly believe religion is the root of all evil.
Thank you for your viewpoint.
Yes,
it's just my point of view, but I think people want to belong to a tribe or community or feel that they have that connection. And this is why I'm moving into this new space of the women. Well, not new, just a deeper space, because women, I think there's so many women, we crave connection. We feel isolated, and we may be feeling the effects of that isolation from so many years ago. So I think many people are searching or thinking that we're going to heaven, that there's something better than what we're here. I keep looking out, because I'm looking at Mount Ewa and I've got all this nature in front of me. So that's why I'm looking out when I'm talking about, you know, the world around us. So, you know, and understanding that we are just, or the earth is one piece of, like the size of a piece of grain of sand in this universe. You know, when you think about that, it's just fascinating. So does that answer the question?
Yeah, so your sense of awe came into things, and how you finished that sense of awe is so humbling, but also so much expansiveness comes with that, because to see the wholeness of all that is around us puts everything into so much more context, isn't it? And takes you out of that loop of, you know, wanting to belong to this because it feeds you a certain diet.
Yeah, you started to my feeling is that you just started to question everything around you. Yeah, from the food to like everything, which is, you know, we want to be more curious. That's what wakes us up. That's what opens us up more, is questioning everything, not just listening to the same old narrative like you've been talking about, you know, where it's, you know, there's something new and different out there.
Yeah, and it's being okay with letting go of maybe that story or the belief that you've held on to. I think when you start to become aware of the programs, the dogmas, the beliefs that aren't yours, that you're holding on to, I think that also opens you up to experience more of what is.
Yeah, beautiful. It's so true. That's a very powerful statement, what you just said just then. It's always about opening and opening and opening. It's layers and layers.
So you mentioned before about being a dancer. Was that something that you did from a young age?
Yes, I did. I started classical ballet when I was 7. So in ballet terms, it was probably a bit late. I was on point at 9, way too early. My feet show it. And then, yeah, I danced until I was, I guess, 16, 17. And then the beach and the boys and panel vans became.
Yeah. You.
I know what you know. YK. Is that?
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. This is about your awakening, not mine.
Oh, that's hilarious. So we can all relate to some good degree. Now I've completely lost my train of thought. I was still in the panel.
Oh, that's so funny. It's a beautiful time in life though, isn't it? Because the reason why I brought up being a dancer is it's, very structured, and, the training, and, it's a very creative art, and it's a beautiful thing with the music and your body. But, it's a lot of training and a lot of authority and doing what you're told and doing better and those sort of things.
But there's also the other side, which is the freedom and the joy and the movement and the bliss. The bliss in the dance movement. I feel that in your yeah.
I can't help myself.
Yeah, it's like that flame inside of you. That's that spark of that little dancer girl inside of you. I can feel that in all your videos and everything. That's still there, dying just to break free.
Well, and living to share that. Yeah.
Thank you. And it's interesting how what you both said there. And the dancing didn't come till later. Also, like a dear friend of mine who did an energy reading. Like I saw those dances on Instagram, and some, when you see, people come up, I was kind of like, what are they doing? And then some of the choreography came out, and I used to teach body jam.
Wow.
When I returned back to fitness, or when I was in fitness, I taught body jam. But just going back to the ballet training, so my teacher, I did go to a teacher that was very strict and a hard training, but only for a year. So yes, that was hard, but I don't think I just didn't feel that it was right for me. And then I found this teacher. So looking at you, Amanda, because it was hard, because there is that, I guess, perception if someone does classical ballet, it's really grueling, which it can be, most definitely. And I did have, as I said, my feet show it. But on the other side, I had a beautiful teacher, Moya Beaver. You have to laugh because everyone does.
There's a theme here. We're getting a theme. There's an energy theme.
Miss Beaver.
Miss Beaver. Stupid joke. Bless her heart. But we used to dance in a hall, but we didn't do exams. It was for the joy of dancing. So she did concerts. We used to dance up at Dalwood Homes, the children's home, every year, the Maypole, for years and years and years. And then in Manly at the St. Paul's Cathedral, it was all about, showcasing the children's dance, but it was no exams or hard stuff. I mean, she had a stick and she was grueling, but there were some dancers. I remember one dancer went to WA to go to the Western Australia Ballet, and she said, she had her legs out split, and her teachers, or even sitting like in a wing, and her teachers used to come and stand on the knees. So I didn't go to a teacher who was really grueling and strict and really disciplined. It was more about the joy and expression and having concerts. Oh my gosh, that's what I miss.
The best fun, isn't it? And for like a young girl, as you're saying, like at 7, that first experience, and then, fortunately meant to be move on to Miss Beaver, and have the joy the joy of dance stay with you all those years,
Yeah.
because it's a fabulous thing to be able to love dressing up and to express to music and be with other children and enjoying
It's a
that
natural
group
part of us.
energy. Yeah, it's fabulous. It's a celebration, and to do
Yes.
it, making other people happy as well, as you say, is for you. It's a gorgeous thing.
Thank you. That's why I continue, because I mean, I've had, like, when I moved up to the Sunshine Coast, we've only been up here 2.5 years. I remember like the first couple of weeks, I went into a Whole Food place, and the girl behind said, "Oh, are you Cathy Carr?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Oh, I see your dancing videos." Oh my gosh.
You're famous. No, you're
Like,
attracting people.
do you remember Bros?
Oh,
When
yes. Yes.
I'll be famous.
Yes. Yes.
So I remember I was 21 when I went and saw them, but who would have thought that I'd be known for Instagram, but dancing. But it's interesting because they say when you move into menopause or post-menopause, you tend, or it is encouraged or recommended, to take up the things that either one that you didn't do before in your younger years that you wanted to, or revisit what you used to do that gave you joy. Because when I was teaching Body Jam, prior to that, I wasn't dancing at all. It was nightclubs, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then from Body Jam, I injured my back. So then I stopped. So there has been moments where my, I guess, direction led me in another way, I guess, maybe not the right way. But a young girl has to experience, still carved it up on the dance floor, mind you.
Yeah, I bet you did. I have no doubt.
Yes, I can see it.
I reckon if I had known you, we would have been cutting loose on the dance floor.
100%, Jo.
I mean, that's still dawn.
So
I love it.
Too late. Let's do that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's wonderful how it could be so social like that too. Like, as you say, like moving like from that. I guess you well, I don't say good girl, but going as a teenager into young adult life and being fascinated with all that excitement and fun and a different direction and being distracted. It's gathering experiences, isn't it?
Yeah, but gathering experiences, but it's not like I was, I didn't do anything. So, I went down the ski route. I think we talked about that. I worked in Thredbo, so I've always been active in some way, but dance is, I just think, just such a beautiful way of expression, even if it's unstructured, to get that shit out.
Yes. Yeah, we are with you 100%.
And when you think about the physical aspect of keeping the body moving, I mean, we'll come back around to that, I think, later when we come into other parts of the conversation, but there's so much gift there physically and health sense with dance.
Yeah. So we've kind of talked about things that are happening around you, and you briefly talked about even food and things like that you've become more aware of that you need to change. Was there anything else that you had to change for you personally when you started to become aware more of what, almost like the good and the bad in the world? Was there anything else you wanted to change?
There's always still, I think there's things that you'd like to change. The things, you referred back to the layers, peeling the layers, the onion layers off, because once you start peeling, there's more to peel off. So I think when you discover that, it's like, okay, this is what I need to change.
Yeah.
So whether that be in the way that you do life, which definitely has to change through your changes.
Yeah.
If you don't, I think that causes, some challenges.
Yeah. So was there anything that you had to give up?
Well, it wasn't I had to, I chose to.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things that we have to do, I think, or we should do, like the peri-menopause, the alcohol. Like when I started cleaning up my diet, when I diving into Jane's work, as I mentioned, I'm absolutely loving it. I think that's the changes, just changing the way that I work with women, not changing completely, but giving more depth.
Yeah.
So this is
changing-
Jane Hardwick Collins, isn't it? The really
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. And I think
Shamanic.
the beauty about the social media and things is that, you know, you can learn from other people that you didn't know, and you're like, oh, I'm going to change my ways and do that now instead, you know.
Yeah.
So the changes, I guess, the biggest thing for me was alcohol, but you know, my body wasn't, you know, when you start to know what your body is telling you, you know, we've heard many times the body keeps score, the body never lies. So when you listen enough, or your body gives you enough pain, that's what we call the pain teacher. That is the lesson to make some changes. So, I mean, some of the changes I made, the biggest one, you know, when I was saying about being a sick, fit person, obviously the way that I ate, but it was also the time of day that I was working and the load that I was doing. You know, that actually, the awakening that, for that intensity of work and doing for others, I had glandular fever. So my boys they were still in pull-ups, nappies, couldn't get out of bed. So that was a big aha that I had to change.
Yeah.
All lifestyle factors. You can't change one thing and expect, you know, a beautiful ripple effect. You have to look at all aspects of what or where your stress might be coming from. It's not just the psych.
Yeah. Was there people? Was there? Did you have to let? Yeah. Did you have to let go of any people along this journey that just weren't aligned?
Yeah. The reason why I kind of dropped my head there, I think the biggest one is, yeah, I think you understand, I guess, coming back to values. When you're very strong in your values, you're not negotiables. It's kind of like your contract to self. And sometimes it's necessary to let go of people that are in alignment with you. It's letting go of the things. You know, I gave up a yoga class. I mean, I love yoga and I love the people, but, you know, it was the feeling my body was getting every Monday morning before I went to that class. So I stopped the class and Monday morning feeling left. So,
it's funny, isn't it? Because it can be in the places that we least expect it.
Yeah. And I think, you know, the COVID series episode is the biggest one. Yeah, I knew I have a girlfriend for 20 years and we just went our separate ways because the values, you know, it's just you can only clash heads so much. So at the point, you know, I just said time out, because I think, you know, we always have a choice, whether it's the right choice or not choice, or it could be in between where we're just like time out because this isn't going anywhere. And I love her from a distance.
Yeah.
But I don't have to hang out with that energy because, you know, when you we all want to be healthy and vital. So when you start to understand how your body's responding, then you will make changes. And that's the biggest beauty thing that I love about this phase of life is your intuition heightens. Like every day I keep saying, just trust it. You knew that. Trust it. It's getting better, but I think it's just so much more expansive.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason we asked that question, because there's beautiful gifts and dropping the things that aren't aligned, you know, and then when we're dropping the things that aren't aligned with where we need to move into, we create more expansion, which then, you know, opens up for stronger intuition. And it's not a bad thing. It's not about not liking anyone or any of that. It's about doing what's right for you and staying in tune with that, which then creates much more abundance in many, many areas.
You preserve the energy, you're creating space. You've got the energy to go into that space.
Yeah, I think if we can just be okay with letting go of obligations in an inverted commas.
Yeah.
We feel that we have to. you know, a lot of with my clients, you know, sometimes we need to even just have a bit of loving distance from our own family, you know, but we've told that they're family. You have to mend, you know, like I haven't seen my brother, you know, my father never met his grandson, you know, I mean, he chose that. I mean, that's a different kind of scenario, but you know, if you're not aligned, you know, my brother obviously had his own reasons and values, and he didn't feel that the people wanted to see his family ever again. But you know what I mean? So
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think if we just let go of the feelings that we have to and come back to what is it that I really need?
Yeah. Yeah. Without the judgment on self and others. Yeah. Yeah.
That's totally what I'm hearing when I'm just listening to you then about letting go of our obligations, is asking ourselves daily more questions, and as a form of checking in with ourselves and seeing what is feeling right and what is not feeling right. Like the Monday feeling, why is Monday feeling like crap for me? And it, you know,
When you feel in the solar plexus, that's that, you know, your power zone.
Yeah.
Listen to that.
Yeah. So
Love it.
beautiful. Kind of asked that question
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah. So when you were doing, like, because you know, when going back to 1993 and all these programs that you were running, I mean, fitness and health was quite a corporate space then. I mean, it still is in a lot of ways, but that was like a really power growth for fitness and health, wasn't it? Period of time. Was that quite a big, like, were you having children then amongst all of that, or like what was life for you then in those years?
No, I started the health and fitness. The first, when I started participating in group fitness and everything in Sydney, was watching the movie Physical with Curtis and John Travolta. And I said, I want to look like that.
You just wanted to wear the leotards.
I want to do that.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But participating, that's when I was participating. But then in 92, I was working Thredbo and I had a bad relationship, and I thought, I'm just going to go and ski the world. I'm out of here. One-way ticket. I don't want to meet an Australian man. I just, you know, it was just, you know, you have bad experiences. And, you know, I don't have that thoughts on Australian men, if any men. You know, that's a 25-year-old speaking.
Yeah.
But when I went to Canada, tossed a coin, Lake Louise or Whistler. So I went to Blackcomb Whistler and I worked there. And I partied. I just, danced, danced and drank, you know, the big, I don't know even what they're called, the big, they're not steins, or that's in Europe. But anyway, and eating cookies and fudge. And I put on a significant amount of weight. I remember going down the slopes. I had a really awesome rip curl, like fluoro orange suit, and I went down in a tuck and I split my pants from like front to back.
Epic, I love it.
Oh my goodness!
Was that an awakening moment?
Yeah, I was going to say that would be an awakening on its own.
Yeah, you got to stop eating fudge and cookies and pizza and drinking beer. But when I went to, so my parents came over. I was in Blackcomb and Whistler, and then my parents came over and we went traveling. And then I ended up cut a long story short, but I ended up in Banff, and I was nannying, and the nanny took me to this Wild Bill's saloon where I met my first husband there. I don't talk about that very much because I don't feel like I was really married before. But anyway, I went to the gym that he went to, you know, the Banff Springs Hotel.
Heard of it. Well, I've heard of Banff, and I think it's a pretty...
It's a big hotel. It wasn't that... because if you said yes, I thought that was going to be funny, but it wasn't. But anyway... The Rimrock Resort Hotel is in Banff, and it sits on top where the sulphur springs are. So I joined there. to try and get rid of the inflammation that I have gained from all the carbs.
Yeah.
And then I started participating in the group fitness class, and the girl that was running it was just so awesome, really, really cool. And I said, I want to do what you do. I want to teach group fitness. And she said, you have to be really serious about it. And that was in 93.
Wow.
And she took me, she said, I'll take you under my wing and I'll teach you. So she taught me. And then when I came to Australia, then I worked all over the place, and I managed the Rankin Sisters Health Club, which was in Neutral Bay. Do you remember? I don't know if you remember them. They were on Channel 10 with Jonathan Coleman. I managed that gym, and that's where I met my husband, Donald.
Ah, beautiful.
Yeah. Lovely. Meant to be, isn't it? How you just in alignment.
So basically, your calling really has been in the health industry. I mean, just from your story so far, it's like every step and every turn has been towards health.
Yeah.
Not only for you, but for others around you, and your love for wanting to help other people find that in themselves. That's the feeling that I'm getting through your, the weaving of your awakening, which is really, really lovely.
Yeah, I totally feel that my work, my legacy, well, my legacy is for my children, obviously. But I want to be, I guess, known for a wise woman that empowered others, other women. This is kind of what my program stands for, Mojo. It's midlife empowerment, overcoming the obstacles for joyful healing so you can optimize your future.
Yeah, beautiful. That's really beautiful.
Yeah, that's a very holistic acronym of that word, which gets used in a very one channel way, but when you encompass it with that, that's very beautiful.
Which is so perfect, because the next question I wanted to ask is how, what do you do now, the Cathy Carr right now, to support yourself in staying in the moment, staying aligned, in tune, open, expansive, apart from helping others?
Oh yeah. Well, I eat well. I eat organic. Like, I have my not negotiables around, my food, my sleep. Like, I don't drink coffee, I don't drink alcohol. I am perfectly okay with saying no, and I structure my week that, certain days I don't work, or I only work to a certain time. I say, no, I'm not available. I love doing my skin stuff. I love going out and doing Tai Chi. So what I'm really passionate, and what I was teaching at Elise's retreat was the art of slowing down, which really has a profound effect on anyone, really. Like, we think we can slow down, but when you practice slowing down, it can be really confronting.
It's such a program, isn't it? It's such a program, especially for women, and especially from that midlife age where we feel the need to be having to do something all the time.
It's our pattern. We're often logged in and don't know how to log out to that.
Yeah. Or as well, we've done so much for everyone else, and now a lot of that might have been taken away, and we don't know what to do, because we used to be so busy, and so we keep ourselves busy with the the mundane stuff.
So true. So what does a day look like for you, Cathy?
So a day looks like, I get up around, I guess, my husband and I are sleeping in separate beds at the moment. We're trying to wean the dog. We've got must be 62 kilos now, 62 kilo big dog.
Oh,
so,
wow.
But anyway, I sleep with the blinds open so I can look at Mount Ewa. So the light comes in around 6, I guess. So first thing, I have a liver and gallbladder flush tea. Thank you, Helen Patteran and Heidi Stuller.
Wow. What does that consist of? Can you share that with us? Is it?
Oh, I have the tongue says it all. Delightful.
If you put that in maybe your show notes, Helen Patteran.
Yes, absolutely. I will. Yeah.
Bladder liver flush tea. If I don't have that, it's it's a ritual.
Yeah.
It's a ritual. And that's also that I've just started doing a lot more of, or encompasses. I bought these beautiful cards. I did a second reading on Friday. So each Friday, because I was seeing and I hear from clients the overwhelm in women and the importance, or they just really crave connection. So I bought these beautiful cards, these sacred cycle oracle cards. So I've been doing a reading for myself and journaling. I've been doing that a lot more now. I'm a journaler, but I've been doing a lot more of that and setting an intention. I have this beautiful altar. So my sons, I've also become, my husband and I become empty nesters this year. So that's been another transition and change that we've had to, I guess it's a time to get creative for ourselves. So my son, this is downstairs. So this is all my space now. So it's where I do my filming, my online training with my clients, my space if I need to just time. And then it's where I do my meditation, where my readings. And as I was saying here, I'm coming in on a Friday each Friday on Instagram, drawing 4 cards. So any woman can choose a card, and then I send them a message of what they need to receive. So that's what I do. I love going up to Noosa Main Beach to have a swim in the ocean, because I've lived near the ocean pretty much all my life, even when we're in Ireland. Not that I swim in Ireland.
I was going to ask.
Oh my gosh, no. No. So the ocean, like, that is really cleansing for me. So the nearest beach is probably 25 minutes. So, but I'm in nature. We've been working. Our dream was to own property, and we kept that alive. You have a dream. It's important to have a dream, because if you don't have a dream, you're living a nightmare. So it's always like, you work towards the dream, you take 1 step forward, 2 steps back. So, we're here. I have 2 little miniature goats who I absolutely adore. They're my girls. So I go down when they sit on, it's, what, it's also when you were talking about noticing the world around you. It's so interesting just to watch the goats. They're so highly intelligent. And they're really a good spirit animal. They're very grounding. And they like to go. They like heights, right? Because they like to keep a view of things.
And they jump around heaps, don't they?
They play. They love to play.
I love watching them.
And they're very affectionate.
They are so affectionate. So it's interesting to watch, because there's a time of the day where they will go, because there's a little deck going out to the dam, or like a little pontoon. And they sit on that at a certain time of day. And then the dog will go out at like 11 a.m. when the sun comes in on the deck and watches them. So, sitting outside in the sun and just, watching and spending time with my little goats. I never thought I was going to be a goat mum, but it's just beautiful. And I think moving up here and, being surrounded by nature, I have so much more appreciation for wildlife. Like if a huntsman jumps on me, I don't really scream anymore, but I do scream if I see a snake, but I'm like, I'm okay. Just don't all wait for the I'm okay after it.
Yes. Wow.
If he hears a scream, he says she saw a snake. So those are the things, what I do for me. I miss Sydney because of the times that I used to be able to catch up with my girlfriends for lunch, like Helen, but she's moved and we kind of all moved out. So, thank goodness for Zoom. And, I've got one of my dear friends in Sydney who I was training, who's also my business coach. She moved up here. There's a couple of friends that moved out from Sydney. So it's making time. I feel totally okay making time for me and, the beautiful people in my life, and and having gratitude. Like every afternoon we take the girls, Kiva and Grace are the goats. We take them for a sunset walk. They follow us. So we go up to the top and sit, sit up there and I just have gratitude. It's like this. It's just, I'm really grateful. Took a long bloody time, but
you got there. You're getting there. Let's say we're getting there.
So it's kind of like getting in sync and in a harmony with life, as opposed to pushing it, generating it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I dance and I come down here and put music on and light a candle, or I've really feel like, because I used to straighten my hair as well, I feel like I'm just stepping into that wild.
Yeah.
A little bit of wild.
Yeah,
I think it suits you. I think it works for you.
Absolutely.
Because the person that I met over a year ago now at one of the retreats that you and Elise were doing down in northern New South Wales, we had a beautiful dinner with so many people and sharing conversation. And I remember one comment that you made was, "I'm a good listener. I've got many stories, but I'm a very good listener." And you were just so peaceful and holding of space really made quite an impression. So I gather that you've kind of done that a lot through your life, probably even in the busy times, but your awareness of that gift that you share with other people has become greater, but also giving that to yourself now. And what you were just describing is what I felt.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's really beautiful. Now we have one last question. How do you, Cathy Carr, see the world right now?
How do I see the world? I think the world, the earth, is hurting. I feel that there's, as you were just saying, there's such a far larger awakening, and I think that's the blessing from, if there's always a blessing from hard times of hardship, right? So I think there's far more awakened people. Where do I see the world? It's a really huge question, isn't it?
It is, isn't it?
It's interesting because my husband talks a lot about world stuff, like, politics and what's happening, and he loves quantum physics because my father was big into quantum physics as well. He's the real thinker, and I guess I'm just feeling, put myself in a place where I can feel safe and be in a place and okay with the things that I can control.
Yeah.
So I think if the more that I heal myself, I can heal others, and the more I can heal others who are willing to to heal themselves or to go onto that path, I think then the world continues to become more awake and more open. Because as I said, when we're having that thought, we're all energy, we're all connected, we all have that vibration and frequency. When we're all feeling trapped, I don't know about you, but I know we don't like to talk about it. It's kind of like it's a taboo. But during that COVID phase, I felt it was so cement and heavy. So I think the more that I heal myself, the more the vibration can be lifted. I think
it's all about expansion, isn't it? It's like the more that we expand ourselves in understanding ourselves and understanding others, we expand more, which then threads into others.
But in doing that, it's about looking within, coming within, and coming back into self, and that right relationship with self.
And this is
all the aspects.
Yeah, and I think this is another reason, not think that I know that this is the reason why I've been craving to do, like, I love women's circles and things. I've sat in them for a long time ago and then more recently. So, by bringing women together, so they can feel supported and heard, because we're not, we start to feel invisible. It's like, we've lost, we've bared the children, now we're kind of put out to pasture. But if we can connect, the women can connect and start to have that bit of self-reflection and say, well, what about me, and where to now, what do I want now for the other part of my life? is so important, connecting women in circle. And that's where I'm moving into with this Mojo as well, just so, you know, we don't have to think so bad about this time of our life. So I think, yeah, healing self to heal, yeah, it all comes down to self first. Before we, myself and one other, and then all the collectives, we can't just focus on everything all outside of ourselves. It has to start from here.
Beautiful. That's very, very, I think, fundamental to where we're going as a collective as well, isn't it? You know, that self-love, the self-joy, and self-appreciation.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness, it has been amazing sitting with you. Really amazing.
Thank you so much. I would have loved to have come and just sat with you in your presence, but you know, when I'm down, I'll just pop in and say hi. But thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you both.
Maybe then we'll get to talk a bit more about perimenopause and menopause, because
I'm sure our listeners, there'd be a whole lot of listeners that would love to hear about your thoughts around that, and how, you know, you and, I mean, you know, ways that they can support that.
I mean, you've got a huge amount of info, support on your Instagram that you know, as you say, you check in daily with people. It's like you're very available in a way that serves you as well as serving others, but in your website. So, but yes, to have some conversations around that space would be amazing.
Yeah. Thank you
Thanks,
so much,
Cathy.
Cathy.
Thank you so much.
Give your goats a hug from us.
Yes.
I will. They have their own Instagram page, by the way.
Oh my God. We will put that in the
notes. We'll put that in the notes. Beautiful. Bye.
Bye.